Yes. Oh,
yes,
now we have everything together, and welcome everybody. This is our third meeting today. We are celebrating Leonard Orr's birthday and his wonderful ideas of spiritual community, physical immortality, and rebirthing breath work. And I am going to turn over it now to Sarah to continue.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome everyone. It's so great to see you all here. And I just want to say a little bit about REBA, Rebirth International Breathwork Association. We're a collective of rebirthers from all around the world who have worked closely with Leonard for decades. Many of us are some of his closest friends and students. Certainly not all of them, but we welcome everyone into our fold. And we are going to be launching a global breathwork directory listing soon and lots of community participation. So please stay tuned for that. And of course, you can be in touch with us in our newsletter. If you haven't subscribed yet, you want to sign up for that. And you can find us on Facebook. Our group page is Rebirthing Association, and it's a page on Facebook right now. So thanks for being here with us today. And I just want to remind everyone that this is being recorded. The whole Zoom call will be recorded. And by joining, you're agreeing to release all rights to Rebirth International Breathwork Association. So now that I have all that set aside, we get to the fun parts. And I just want to start with a little bit of personal sharing. And for those of you that might not know me, I met Leonard in, I think it was 2002, the first meeting, and just started off with some trainings and annual conventions, turned into working and living with he and his wife off and on for 6 months or a year, taking care of the bookstore and the phone calls and trainees and I just leaped right into everything and started organizing for him. My dear friend, Aaron Overstreet, who's here, and we're going to be hearing from him later. He got me involved in the Return to the Sacred conventions, which were like the West Coast convention for Rebirth International. And that's really where I grew and bloomed into being a rebirther. And from there, I started editing, doing newsletters, helping with publishing books. I started leonardorbooks.com. So it really means a lot to me personally that all of you are here today and that we're all coming together as a global community. This is one of my personal dreams come true. So I'm really excited. And to speak about physical immortality a bit, it's really hard to describe how Leonard's teachings have changed my life. It's just happened it's impacted so many different areas, every area of my life. And I think that when it first clicked for me, I was at a training before I'd even met Leonard. Somebody said something about unconscious death urge, and something in my mind clicked. And I thought, that's what I have. And that's what I want to learn about. And that's what I want to heal. And so that kind of became my opening to the concept of physical immortality, because Leonard said, if you're going towards physical immortality, but you're not healing your unconscious death urge, it's just insane. You can't go for total healing and aliveness in your body without healing your death urge and looking at your death urge. So for me, it's been a real process of diving into the shadow work, into the deeper stuff, because the lower you go, the higher you go. And it's been profoundly transformational for me on an interpersonal level. And I think that's probably all I want to say about it right now, because I want to get to our interviews and our guest speaker. So I want to introduce Kira Longman, who's here with us from London. Kira, I think you need to unmute your microphone if you can find that there. Yeah, welcome. Hi. So I know that you traveled with Leonard extensively in 2012 and did a lot of organizing for him. And I know how fantastic and fun you are as a person and breath worker. But I really, honestly, I don't know that much else about you. And I haven't really gotten to connect with you and talk about physical immortality and how you came into all of this. So if you want to just speak a little bit to your personal experience with physical immortality and Leonard.
Yeah, so it was 2012, and I was in between jobs, and I went to Glastonbury, and I'd been doing a lot of shamanic work at the time. And I asked my guides, you know, what's the purpose of me being here right now? And they went, you have to learn to breathe. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, you've got to learn to breathe? What? Anyway, I'm like, yeah, what a load of shit. Anyway, so they have this thing called the Glastonbury Oracle, which is a free newspaper of courses and what's going on in the area. And there's Sandra Ray, liberation breathing. Oh, okay. So that was my introduction to breath work, and then I got introduced to Leonard. My first training was in India, so it was absolutely phenomenal with Rajendra and Haika, and you know, and I just loved Leonard. You know, he's this like triple Scorpio intense, with all these really amazing concepts, because he didn't just introduce the breath, he really wanted to change humanity and help humanity grow. And he had all these forward-thinking ideas about politics, about money, about government, and how we could live in a civil society, which, you know, we're not. We have our overlords, and no other breathwork teacher out there teaches this apart from his graduates that also use it. And none of them, they're all about the breath, but actually he saw the greater picture of how the world, you know, you can't just have the breath, you've got to change your life. So being in India, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And so he invited me. After going to Virginia and checking out the center, he said to me, so I'm going to India and then Australia next year. You want to come with me? And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, because I love travel. And my dad lives in Australia, so went to India for 6 months. And the very first day that we were in Rishikesh, you were there, Heike, weren't you, in Rishikesh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was with Elvie, his wife, and we went to an ATM to get some money out. And I got my card out and put the card in, and it took it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the beginning of 6 months away, and it's taken my card. What am I going to do? So we walk out of the ATM. It's a Sunday, you know, can't do anything on a Sunday. And this old Baba and a young boy comes up to us, and he said, you know, can you give me some money for puja? And I'm like, oh, my card's just been taken, but I do have some rupees. I know it's important for you to do the evening puja by the Ganges. So I gave, he said, no, don't give me the money. We'll go to the shop and you'll buy it for me. And so I bought that, and Elvie bought it for the little boy. I went back to the ashram we were staying at, and I was a roommate with Chitra. And I'm telling her this story of like, oh, what am I going to do? And I said, look, you know, look in my purse, it's not here. And there it was in my purse. And Elvie is my witness that card did not come back out of the machine. And so that was a massive leela. And so I'm like, you know, bloody hell. I mean, hanging out with Leonard was really cool. So then we went on to Sariska National Park, which is, the ashram there is the home of Bhatraji, who's a 2,000-year-old immortal. And we did a 9-day training there, it was a really great experience. And then we went to the ashram to do arti. And Bhatraji has had many bodies like Babaji. And each of the bodies is encased in a cement tomb. And you go up to the first one, and whoa, the energy is like phenomenal. And you know, you feel it vibrating as you're coming. And so after arti, we went outside, and I was in a Jeep with Leonard was sitting next to me, looking off the other direction. and Nicole and her partner were sitting behind me. And there's this man by the side of the car, dressed in, you know, the orange, normally it's an orange robe, but this was like fawn colored. And I'm like, that's a bit strange, isn't it? And his irises, one was brown and the other was like a clear quartz crystal, the iris. And I'm like looking at his eyes going, wow, that's weird. And it was just absolutely, you were entranced looking at him. And I don't know how much time went by. And I couldn't help it, because in my head's going, is this Bachaji? And I turned around to Nicole and her partner and said, is that Bachaji? And they're like, look back around, and he'd gone. And there was nowhere he could have gone to. He was, you know, disappeared. And I'm like, I'm a scientist. You have to prove things to me for me to believe it. And I love it, because my logical mind just couldn't work it out. And it's like that real surrender. And if anything you learn from Leonard, it is complete surrender. And so this was my initiation into, actually, these immortal yogis are from...
Not a bad initiation.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. I think you just hit on the core of it. And for me, I can't speak about physical immortality, unless it lived for me, unless it's so much more than a concept. And I think that that's what Leonard really pioneered for all of us, is that he says he met 8 immortals, maybe more, before the end. And I mean, that's available to us. He was always pushing us, his students, to go out and find these, explore this, have your mind opened to this, because once you start looking, it all comes rushing to you. And that's just a beautiful demonstration of that. And I know without those experiences that are so personal to each of us, it really has to live for you. And at some point it will. If it doesn't now, at some point it will, if you pursue.
Important thing is, whether you believe it or not, the practices are so incredibly essential,
and the practices with the elements, for people who don't know, Leonard's simple practices of earth, air, water, and fire, and spiritual community. And
because the day before this happened was a fasting day, and I spent the whole day with the fire chanting to Batraji.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, like Leonard's trainings were absolutely phenomenal. If you let it, if you wanted to stay in the drama, you'd have a horrendous time.
It's all available.
Project onto everybody else, then you're going to have a shit time. But if you surrender, you amazing.
Yeah. Kira, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I think, do we have time to take any questions? Let's see, it's 7:20. We've got John and Peace coming on next.
Hey.
What would you guys like to do here? I don't think we might give a few minutes to see if any questions want to come in, but I think we're running good and smooth on time. So we have plenty of time for you guys to kick off and get started. And then if questions come in, maybe we can take a look at those later.
That sounds good.
Sarah, Frank just left a message that your hair's rubbing on the mic.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Thanks.
Good. So I'm really happy to be here. And I suppose I'll start by sharing my introduction to physical immortality, which was on a phone call. I'd heard the concept at a training I was taking part in with Sandra Ray, and she talked about Leonard Orr and physical immortality, and how important it was when you're working with the mind and you're mastering the mind and your ability to create with your mind, that you also address the thought that death is inevitable and beyond our control, and to address our ancestral traditions around death and dying, because as you're getting very good and adept at creating with your mind, your subconscious mind is also becoming an even more powerful creator. So that's one point about physical immortality. I think it's, and contemplating it, that's important to consider for anyone working with thought is creative. And then I met Leonard through a accidental, of course, meeting. I was calling a rebirthing center in upstate New York, and Leonard answered the phone. "This is Leonard Orr." And then I said, "This is Leonard Orr?" So he says, "Yeah." So I thought I was calling New York, and he had the phone, channeled down to Virginia. So by the end of that call, I was making plans to go down and see him and take another training with him, start a training with him. And so I let him know, I called him back and I said, "I just want you to know that I don't know how I feel about this whole physical immortality thing. I don't want to come down and bring a negative vibe." And he said, no, it's just an important idea to contemplate. And that's all I ask, is you give it, consideration. It gives you your best chance at clearing, any obstacles to your aliveness and longevity. So I said, okay, that sounds reasonable. And I hung up the phone and I started contemplating this, and out of my subconscious came this thought: I can't afford to live that long. Which is when I realized that I had equated life energy with the symbol of life energy that we use, right? Which is money. Instead of barter and exchange, we switched to this symbol for life energy, the money system. And that totally changed everything for me when I realized that it's life energy that's the true wealth. That's the true currency, that current of life running through us. And that was just the beginning. And then, of course, there are many stories after that. Most of you know me. I started going down to Rebirth International after that 1 week a month for a full year, living in the Dooney on Leonard's property. And then after that moved down to Virginia for quite a number of years. And so I freed Leonard up for traveling for 5 years by holding the fort down at Rebirth International. So that's my story. And John, I met you at Rebirth International. And so please tell us your story, introduction to physical immortality.
Well, my introduction feels like it was when I was a child and just meditating on death and eternity and infinity. And so it was very much wrapped in with contemplating death and like why and how that happens, and if it has to happen. I think a lot of children just contemplate at some point when they hear about death, they begin to contemplate what it's like to just disappear and for everything to be gone. But then you can't really, how can you perceive that if everything's gone? So then you start contemplating about form and formlessness. And so that's when I first started thinking about it as a child. And then as in Rastafari, we don't say that Haile Selassie died, the King Rastafari of Ethiopia. We know him to still be alive and immortal. So in that philosophy, we came across physical immortality, and I came into Rasta as a shorty. So then when I came across Leonard's ideas, they just were so in tune with many of the things I had been contemplating already, but so forward thinking and detailed and thought out. I never took the exploration as deep as I was able to go through some of the portals he created with his writings. And so one day I saw the number in the back of the book, and I was like, I think there was a training coming up. It was the Return to the Sacred in Sierraville, and I called the number, and I was like, "Hi, I'm calling because I want to go to this training, and I'm looking for Leonard Orr." And he was like, "Hi, this is Leonard." And I said, "Well, me and my family want to come out to this thing. We don't have enough money, but we got to get there." And he was like, "Well, that's excellent. I'll put you in contact with Yashoda, and she'll take care of it and make sure you can come." And so I got out there, and that was where I met Sarah as well. And I had a dream before I went out there, and about when I met Leonard, and the same exact thing I saw in this lucid dream, it happened when I met him. I saw the whole scene in my mind's eye, and and from then, we just started building. He came to my house and chilled with me like a month after that training, and he did a little class at my home, and we kept building ever since then.
That's beautiful. So, John, you have 3 children, I believe.
Yes.
So how do you approach this subject with your children?
Well, with my little one, he doesn't really contemplate it, but the big ones, it's come up in school with them, and their classmates attempting to tell them. This was, earlier in their schooling. They're both, one has graduated high school and one is in the middle of high school, but they would just have to talk with these other kids about it, and they would get frustrated. They would come home and want to talk to me about it and try to get the philosophy down. And what I've realized is philosophically, they're interested, and they love Leonard's books. My son especially, he's always asking me to borrow one of Leonard's books whenever he gets these probably frustrated or similar to contemplations around death. It seems like he's been wanting to read more of it. The physiological side, it seems like and the energy side, they're still learning about it. They've seemed to forgot how good bathing, soaking in the bath used to feel for them when they were little. But they're relearning, like, different symptoms coming up in their life, and then they look for solutions, and the solutions are always in the elements and in the breath. And so it seems like their life will teach them about physical immortality.
Yes, that's true. So if there was one thing that you wanted to share with the world in relation to physical immortality, one idea or one aspect of it, I know I'm kind of surprising you with this, but what comes up as the most potentially significant for people in general?
Well, since I like etymology, I'll just go there with those 2 words. And you have physical, which is phi. Phi is the golden ratio that is this divine pattern in everything. So in the whole physical world, you can see this spiritual touch to it. So I think remembering that the physical world is completely spiritual all the time, that's one thing that stands out for me. And then akal, physical, akal means non-dying in Mahakal, or in in Sanskrit, akal means non-dying or to overcome death. And so phys akal, or you also can see phi cycles, cycles of phi, cycles of the golden ratio. And that's the cycles of our breath. Our breath even does the golden ratio when we're breathing. So to keep that golden ratio, breathing, and then immortal, that's amor. And that's love for life. So the more we love life, the more we love the cycles, the more we love the divine patterns that we're coming into contact with, the more our will grows for physical immortality.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And of course, you took the immortality mantra and set it to rhythm and music in I'm Alive Now. And I'm hoping we're going to play that as part of this today, maybe even now. It would be a wonderful thing to be.
Yes, I can do
yes.
that.
And I remember when you came and sang it live for Leonard in the dining room of the training center. That is just his face and the smile, and is just ingrained in my mind, that moment of you sharing that a cappella.
Yeah, he put me on the spot.
So here we have it.
I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. Let's build, I'm thrilled. I'm feeling this miracle that we exist. This thing called life ain't gotta be complex. Life ain't a bitch, she my bright goddess. I ain't focused on the afterlife and who got next. Death urge crept in when you got vexed and became unconscious when emotions suppressed, repressed, building up in distress. Let's let it go, let it flow, connect the breath. Inner with the outer till spirit matter mesh. The body is a beauty, not a worthless bag of flesh. Master the mind, let divine manifest. Vibrate mind state at a higher wavelength. Ascending through the stargate as I gave thanks. Whatever thinker thinks, the proof of makes take shape. To die is a grave mistake. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. All the cells of my body daily bathe in perfection of my divine being without any exception. Energy flows where attention is directed. I'm keeping my inhale and exhale connected. All that was dead has now resurrected, transformed, transfigured, and ascended. Spirit matter blended, life is one splendid display of God's love and grace is never ending. Mastering the physical body is recommended to remain in relation and build lasting friendships. You're not a convict living out a death sentence. You're a divine being relaxing to its presence. Question, are you an immortal or a deathless? Matter is spirit but is vibrating the densest. I no longer need pains to get attention. My physical body is my most valuable possession. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. My living physical organism is my natural tool and universe over which I alone rule. It's my material cloak and my magical garment through which powers of divine nature I harness. I am actually progressing rapidly towards the conscious subjugation over basic elements and objects. I no longer age. I began the youth and process. Casting away death, disease, and mental bondage. Each cell grows in perfect youth and serves me well. Becoming more alive, energetic, pure as well, and replaces itself with a more perfect cell. God ditches sickness and stimulates health. Infinite intelligence is always healing me. In body and mind, I find infinite possibilities. My living flesh is life, it has a natural tendency to live in perfect health and youthfulness. And I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect. I'm alive now, of this I'm certain. As long as I keep strengthening my life circuits and removing unconscious death urges, I will go on living eternally healthy and perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, John, and for that gift to the community in that recording. And I use it quite often and share it with my clients.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful collection of all Leonard's teachings in one song. I mean, that is so amazing, so creative.
Yeah, I had to do that for him so that and for us and for the life urge of the planet, so that we could just spread it across generations, you know.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to turn this over now back to Sarah Dawn.
Okay, great.
I have this. Wait 1 second. I need. Okay.
Ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, our next speaker is Aaron Overstreet. And Aaron, I'm just going to ask you to unmute your microphone. And hi, great to see you. Aaron, you are a good friend of mine. I haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you here. And I know that you grew up, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, you grew up at Campbell Hot Springs, which is the Sierraville Hot Springs, or at least you spent part of your youth there, I understand, when Leonard owned the hot springs. And you have been a long time rebirther. I'm not sure how many years it's been now. But do you want to tell us a little bit? Over 30, yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience and process in coming into Leonard's teachings, and particularly around physical immortality?
Sure, I'd love to. It's wonderful to see everybody, familiar faces and new faces. Yeah, so Leonard came into my family's life when I was around 8 years old. We were living in Spokane. My parents had separated, and Leonard came through Spokane, Washington, and gave a training, which my dad took. My family on my dad's side is very spiritual. My grandpa was a healer. My dad's a psychic. And Leonard came through Spokane. My dad did some rebirthing and then fell in love with it and went to Hawaii to train more with Leonard. Leonard was going to Hawaii for a bit, and then my dad from Hawaii didn't come back to Spokane. He went back to live with his parents, and which, you know, for me, it was kind of traumatic to have my dad abandon us when I was 8 years old. But he did it for rebirthing, which was interesting. And then when I was 21, I read Autobiography of a Yogi. And when I got to the part about Babaji, I made this very clear intention, like, I want something like this in my life. I want a teacher like Babaji. A couple days later, my dad randomly said, would you like to try this thing I know how to do called rebirthing? And he'd never talked about it before. So my dad gave me a session. I was like, oh my God, this is better than drugs. This is what I want to do. And he said, well, there's a training center that we were down in Modesto, California. And he said, well, there's a training center just a few hours from here up in the Sierras. So I drove up there, and Heike greeted me. I had never been there. I drove up, and on the roof of one of the buildings, it said "Welcome home," in giant letters. And Heike gave me a tour of the place, and it was just magical. And then they were
Did I have hair at the time?
I don't think so. And I didn't have hair for long after that. And then they were doing a fire ceremony, and they let me participate in that. And it was just such a loving, inviting vibe that I just knew I need to be here. And at the time, you paid like $600 a year to live there. And so a couple of weeks later, I had moved to Sierraville, to the hot springs that Leonard owned at the time, and still hadn't met Leonard, because at that point, he was the last person left paying the lease for this property. He bought it with a group of people. So he was just traveling the world trying to pay for the property. And then I heard he was coming to a Whole Earth Expo in San Francisco. And so I really wanted to see him. I went to this Whole Earth Expo, and there was a couple hundred people waiting for Leonard to show up and talk. And he was late. He was flying into San Francisco and coming right to this event. So they had another breath worker come up, and this breath worker was very like gung ho and like got everybody breathing and like, yeah, go, go, go. And everybody's all jazzed up. And then the last 10 minutes of his hour, Leonard shows up. He walks up to the mic. How many of you came here to see what I look like? And then he just kind of started talking in this monotone voice, and most of the people got up and left. They didn't get it. What I saw was, oh my God, this guy is exhausted. He's showing up in complete authenticity. He's still showing up and giving what he can, but you can tell he's exhausted. He's been traveling, and that was one of the things I saw, traveling with Leonard and interacting with Leonard through the years, was that he was not out to please anybody. He was out to share the message and spread rebirthing and spread the philosophy of physical immortality and be authentic. And sometimes when he showed up, he was, very vibrant and alive. And other times when he showed up, he was showing up the best he could. And from what I saw, he just kept going and kept sharing out of pure love. He loved rebirthing. He loved to share. And he was always doing his own work too. He would show up and talk about his own processing. And, and I think it's that the work that rebirthing does around processing our trauma and healing our emotional wounds brings us to this love of life. It brings us to wanting to be here, wanting to be alive. I remember a long time ago, Heike, you shared that the idea of forgiveness isn't something you can do. You can't forgive somebody. Once you do your healing, you naturally forgive them. And I think it's the same with physical immortality. It's, when you do rebirthing or other healings, you get these glimpses of how it feels to be authentically you. And then the more you do that work, the more you step into your authenticity, and in that, you want to be here, you want to be alive because it's fun. And physical immortality is it's a philosophy, and then it becomes embodied as you do your healing work. And one of the things I've gotten out of it, the thought that the way it's inspired me the most is to think, okay, if I'm going to be in this body forever, if I'm going to be here forever, or possibly hundreds of years, what am I not willing to live with? So it really makes me turn that spotlight into my psyche. Turn that spotlight into my psyche and into like looking at, because sometimes there's these, certain traumas or certain things that we put aside because we can function, and, but with physical immortality, if I'm going to be here forever, I want to heal it all. And so it really, helps me look at these stories, issues, traumas. And so Leonard came into my family, and then he my grandparents met him. He came through Modesto at once and stayed at my grandparents' house. And my grandparents have done rebirthing, you know, with my dad. And my grandpa hated Leonard because at my grandparents' house, it was this ritual of dinner time was 6 o'clock. You're never late. You show up, you sit down, you listen to the family stories, you praise my grandmother's food. And Leonard, of course, is like, walks into the room late, sits down, eats his food, gets up and leaves. And that was so taboo. But again, that's another thing I loved about Leonard was that, yeah, he didn't go by social standards and obligations. And I've always, you know, the old school rebirthers that I've met, I love how like beautifully inappropriate they are, you know, with just like Yashoda and
it's that authenticity that people
totally
start to just live authentic. And yeah.
And then, you know, eventually Leonard did come to Sierraville when I was living there, and I saw him like walk up the driveway, and people were like, "Oh, that's Leonard Orr." And I'd been there a while already studying, and I was like, "Oh, he kind of looks like an old man. Like, what's going on?" Or, you know. And then he went into the forest for 4 days, came back, completely different person. He lost 30 years because he just went and sat with fire, you know. And I love his philosophies about how to become physically immortal, because it's sitting by fire, bathing, breathing, you know, loving community, the earth element, yoga, movement, music. It's everything that's fun and pleasurable.
Yeah, Erin, I'm so happy to hear you say that, because my experience with Leonard was the same. One day he would look ancient, and then the next day he would be completely youthful again. And that's why I never expected that we would really lose him. You know.
And the belly.
The guru belly, losing the weight. But Erin, I think you touched on, go
Can I share
ahead.
one more quick story?
Yeah. Oh, we got more time.
Okay.
I'm not cutting you off yet.
We were at a meeting. It was in the training center in Virginia. And he came for a meeting with some of the participants. And I think I was driving him back to his house or something. And he pointed to his hand, and he had these 2 big liver spots. And he said, "You see these?" He goes, "I got these from the meeting." And then the next time I saw him a day or 2 later, he showed me, and they were gone. You know, his body had picked up something, and he was able to process it really fast.
Yeah, I think that Leonard demonstrated that to me in my own body at times when I was living in his house. I have to tell this story because it's when you entered Leonard's reality, it's a whole different life that shows up. It's life begins, I almost want to say, when you get into breathwork and the practices. And Erin, you touched on so many different points of, you know, Leonard would say physical immortality isn't about whether we make it or not. We're already physically immortal. Our energy body can survive anything, even death, he would say. And this is about improving the quality of our life. And I feel like you just really defined that and described that so beautifully. And it's, you know, for people to come into it and have experiences through breathwork and the practices, and then also just being in Leonard's presence, when you're in the presence of someone who's healed so much, your own stuff can come up and come out. Because it's safe. It's safe with that person, and your subconscious and energy body knows that and will respond. And when the first time I sat down to have lunch with him, we were at a little vegetarian shop there in Stanton, and I sat down, and our lunch came, and he started eating, and I started to get this tingling sensation in my mouth. And my mouth started to go numb, and I started like sweating and kind of panicking. I was still nervous then because Leonard was still very new to me, you know, and this was my first lunch with Leonard, and I was getting ready to do all this work for him, right? And I felt like I could barely speak. And I was able to say, "Leonard, I feel like I've had a shot of Novocaine." And he was just like, "Huh?" and kept eating. And I was like, "I don't think I can eat. I feel like I have Novocaine in my mouth. I'm afraid I'm going to like bite my tongue or cheek." And I had to take my sandwich home with me. And it dawned on me that earlier that summer, I had some extensive dental work done, and I'd received a lot of Novocaine. And so it's just, as you enter into the realm of total healing, of, if you're going, even if you're not going for physical immortality yet as a psychology, but if you enter into the realm of total healing with the elements, like profound experiences start to happen and profound healing can open up. And I just wanted to share that in response to what you were sharing, Erin, because I felt like it was so beautiful what you were sharing. And is there anything else that you want to say about physical immortality and immortals, or where it's taking you in your personal life? And if not, that's fine too. I don't mean to put you on this.
I mean, it's really simple. It's very simple. It's you get into your car, and it's a vehicle that gets you through 3D. If you take care of your car, it lasts longer. And one thing that Leonard taught me, not directly, but when he traveled, it's hard to be vegetarian. It's hard to eat healthy when you're traveling nonstop.
Yes.
And I think his body was affected by that, because I saw how he ate when he traveled, and I saw how he ate when he was at home. and it's, he was wanting to share so much that he just kept going and going. And I think it's just so important to take care of our bodies, and to the philosophy isn't enough, the idea isn't enough, but to eat healthy, to take care of your body. This vehicle we use to get through 3D, it can last much longer than we're taught. And, I think that, and that's just my own, other people might disagree. That's just my own perspective from what I saw with Leonard was, it was like the love outweighed the taking care of his body.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. He really he kept giving and giving to the community and his life mission. That took priority for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
he felt like Babaji, he had made a commitment with Babaji to serve humanity till the earth changes happen, and till the big change is happening in the human consciousness. And so he just kept going.
Yeah.
Well, we are eternally grateful for him for that, but he could have gone to the forest also. That would have been also wonderful if he had, like 10 years ago, decided to just go to the forest and do his practices.
I personally, I think that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that his life urge was one of the things that was keeping the earth in more of a stable state, and that when those forest fires, there were many forest fires across the bush in Australia and across in America, all around in the Amazon. And this was when Leonard was healing, when he was in the hospital, and when it seemed like there were some heavy things happening. And it almost seemed like it was reflective, because Leonard is the breath master, and so the lungs are the trees are the lungs of the earth. And so while Leonard was experiencing his healing, it seemed like the earth was going through that healing as well. And it seems like when he left, everything shifted on the whole planet. And even the coronavirus that they said it attacks the lungs as well, and that the lungs became attack through the coronavirus. It's interesting to me that the forests suffered, coronavirus attacks the lungs, and our beloved breath master, Immortal, left the planet right before it happened. That was just my way of seeing things, and I think what I want to say right now, I feel the presence of Leonard amongst us. You know how we would when we're around Leonard, and the experience we'd have for days or months after that, the energy and the insights that would come through. I can feel that same presence here with us gathered, and so I'm thankful for that.
That's beautiful. Thank you, John.
Yes, and maybe, I also feel like I have gotten much closer to many, many rebirthers after he left, because Leonard also had a very special relationship with many, many people, but the people amongst each other would not really gather. So he would go from one place to another, but we are now forming a worldwide community much more, because he in some ways there is so much space now that we have creative opportunities, and he's watching from above. Now, what do you do with all that I told you and taught you? And are you actually putting it into action and practice and do it? So it's a real, in some ways, he has much more liberty from above to teach and to be there. And I have many clients and friends that experience him now in their life, real presence in their daily life.
Absolutely, yeah. Erin, I want to go back and thank Erin. Thank you for coming today and sharing with us. Wonderful to hear from you. And I'm seeing that it's 8 o'clock now. We're doing pretty well on time, but I also see that Viviana and Joaquin are here. Hi guys, if you want to unmute your microphone.
But there's also Maureen. Will you stay a little longer? We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, Maureen. She's got to unmute her microphone also.
Maureen said she was just popping in for a few minutes, but she's coming back in the last session.
In session 5.
No,
yes.
Okay.
I wanted to say hello, so thank you, Heike. And we have something to do at noon, but I'm so glad to be here just for this part. I feel so filled listening to you guys. And I'm gonna hang out a few more minutes before I have to get off, like 11:15. Great to see you, Heike.
Yes.
We'll see you in session 5. Nice to meet you here.
Yes, nice to meet you, Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, so Joaquin and Viviana, welcome.
Hi.
Oh gosh, hi. I met you guys in Sierraville, and I gotta say, before I met you, Yashoda, our beloved Susan Yashoda Deschenes, who also left the planet, just in one form and is here in another form. She so loved you too. She was raving about how fantastic and lovable and vibrant you two are. And that was certainly my experience in meeting you and getting to hang out with you a little bit at Sierraville. But I don't know much about how you came into the rebirthing community and got whipped up in all of this with Physical Immortality and Leonard's work. So, and I know that Heike, you have some questions for these guys too, and so I'll hand it off to you guys now, and you have your fun.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning, good night for the ones that are at night, and good morning. What a beautiful day to wake up and be able to honor Leonard today. This is so beautiful and amazing. So we're really grateful to be here.
Yeah, so good to see everybody. Yeah. So beautiful people. Yeah. And I love all what I was hearing. I love it. Yeah. And yeah, I start doing rebirthing back in 2012 in Argentina. I don't know, I was like doing a process in my life, and a friend told me you should do rebirthing. So he gave me the number of another friend, and now he's a friend. And I went and I took 10 sessions with him, and I love it so much that I started doing a training with him. And one of the classes was about physical immortality. And truly, I have never thought about that. I mean, I haven't even heard about Babaji. During the process of the 10 sessions, I started having visions about Babaji. And so I grabbed the Breaking the Dead Habit, and I started reading it, and I think I really like in 2 days I read it all, and I love the concept, and I started reading then Fire, and I started like in Argentina it was not so easy to get Leonard's books. It was all like I have to ask a friend of a friend to see if they have the books and all the little things that he wrote. And I started like reading everything about Leonard and about rebirthing and about the spiritual practices, especially Fire. I love the book Fire. And in all the readings, Leonard always invite people to go see him. So another reading was, I have this place in Virginia, so you can come visit me and do spiritual practices. And so I started like seeing what it will be awesome to go visit him. So one day in Argentina, I think that was like 2013, Leonard came to give a lecture there in Buenos Aires. And I also love that he, in all their books and writings, he always was saying, like, I got enlightened in the 60s. And then I start to feel suicidal. And I have these things and things. I was thinking, that's great. I mean, I can be enlightened and still having all these human problems. So I was fascinated about that. And then I went to see him and to listen to the lecture. And I remember the first time I saw Leonard, I looked at his eyes and I feel, oh yeah, this guy is enlightened. Like I didn't feel like I have met a lot of different healers and gurus and that. And that was the first time that I saw someone to the eyes and feel that he truly was enlightened. And yes, so I don't know, I feel so good that I decided to go visit him to Virginia. And I remember in that lecture, he talked a lot about all the things that he talked, amazing things. And also people started talking, asking things about vegetarianism and veganism and things like that. And then at the end of the lecture, he said, for me, the best thing about Argentina is the ice cream. So I went to the store and I bought us 2 kilos of my favorite flavors. So we're going to end this meeting with a feast of ice cream. And I thought it was so joyful. I was vegan, but I mean, how could I say no to that, those ice creams? So
he was called the ice cream king at some time. And whenever we traveled, one time we had a training in Swiss and we went through 10 ice cream stores. I couldn't take it anymore after some time, but Leonard would each time have an ice cream.
It was amazing. And yeah, I love one of the things that I most feel when I was with Leonard is, well, that's the joyful. It was like, for me, being with Leonard, it was like being 5 years old and being with my friend that was also 5 years old. So it was always like something fun. It doesn't matter what the situation, it was always like enjoyable. And then I came to I went to Virginia. I kind of quit I was working as an architect there in Argentina, and I decided to quit everything and come to the States and go to Virginia to visit him, and then I I traveled a few months with him, and again it was awesome to be with Leonard. It was so joyful, so full of life, and another thing that I learned a lot from him was I think two things. One, it was that he was always encouraging everybody. Like I never feel that he was turning down like anybody. Like it doesn't matter what I was thinking about the person or whatever. Leonard always was encouraging other people to thrive, and I was observe what he was saying or whatever, and I realized that in his mind he was always like following the thoughts that were good for the humanity. Like so he was. It doesn't matter what was going on in his mind. He was always expressing the thoughts that were like encouraging and making other people thrive and making humanity thrive. So I started learning about that as well, and also that it was kind of like for him there was always time. I never saw him also like in a rush. So I started feeling that was also like the immortality concept, no? He was always like in present moment. So I kind of start feeling that for him life was eternal because he was never in a hurry or in a hurry to do something. So I start to get that feeling that there's always time to do things and start feeling that when we start living the immortality concept, is like we are always in the present moment that is eternal. So we always have we are always free to choose to enjoy life. So that is when we start to be immortal in that way. Like Aaron was saying, it's like about joyful, about deciding to live and to enjoy enjoy life. So then I went to Virginia. I started traveling with him. I didn't have any like plan other than travel with Leonard. And in one point, he kind of convinced me and Egbert to come here to California. And I didn't really wanted to, but he kind of convinced me to do it. So yeah, we fly from Virginia to Los Angeles. I was traveling with Edward, and there in the airport, I met Viviana, and then everything changed. Yeah, so then I came here in 2015, and a year later, I was living here in California, and my life completely changed. And I truly met Vivi because of Leonard. So that was something also beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly like, I think what Leonard gave us, like he did all this research, he put all this ancient, fantastic information available to us. He completely shifted our perception. He planted in us the what if. What if we can do this? What if we can master the communication with our body? What if we can master our relationship with the elements? So in my personal experience, and I would love to share it because it has so much to do with today and with his teachings and all this research. He had the biggest library, like he knew what he was talking about and he handed it to us. He gave us like, here goes guys, here's the keys. You can live a very, very long, beautiful life. You can walk into the astral planes, just walk with your body if you want to. You have the power to do everything. Like Right now we have breatharians. They're not eating through, you know, they're just feeding through the breath, through the prana. They're getting all their nutrition. We have multidimensionals walking the earth. We have interdimensional walking the earth. He knew it. He knew, he was a scientist. He knew so much about genetics. Everything that he talks about, when we look at it, was pure quantum physics and genetics. He was a genius. So when I met Joaquin in that airport at the LAX, I was in so bad shape. Like my spine was a mess. I had this syndrome. Doctors didn't know what to do with me. That urge was, so everything was really, 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 really going south. I was in wheelchair for a year. I was really like, it was bad shape. So when I met Joaquin and Egbert came to my house so kindly, Joaquin gave him my first session and then he had to travel. And it was like he had to walk out for what it was to come. Then Egbert stayed with my son and I, and we did the 10 sessions in 10 days. So after the third day, I was giving away the things in my house. I was rearranging. I gave everything away. I was going to companies. I called the companies that I was running. I said, you know what? Without explanation, I couldn't explain what I was going to say. I said, I'm going to take some time off. My house was like a vortex, right? Like it was gravity. We were like completely free falling 10 days. And then, of course, perception shifted and shifted and shifted. And at the same time, I was with Egbert and Joaquin was guiding me all the time. So I was studying, you know, I was doing the process and studying at the same time, just completely submerged. So something shifted on me. And to make the story shorter, I actually regenerate my spine and heal my spine and heal out of my body. So when we talk about physical immortality, for me, it's completely a reality. The thing is, we make the contrast. We decide how long we're going to be here. It doesn't mean that we want to stay here forever. It might mean that we already have a contract. We're going to a different mission in a certain period of time. So it is, at the end of the day, it's our free will and our desire if we want to stay in this body or not. But what he planted on us was the possibility that what if we can master our physical body, if we can master the elements, if we can walk through dimensions this way, if we can, if we really, really can enjoy and fulfill our potential. And that, for me, has been the biggest gift of my life. It saved my life in so many ways. And my son, right? And being with Joaquin is an amazing teacher and an amazing master. So it has been like a progress of observation and research. Like we took his teachings, and from there we can't stop. Like we go day and night, and all we do is study, study the power of the breath, the power of the connections with the elements, the healing that there is in all of it. What is healing and what is like really to live our humanity, and also to expand in so many ways that we really get to higher states of consciousness and really, really, again, we master healing, we master joy, right? Like Joaquin was saying, like we really can live a joyful and life, and no matter what, we really go rise above and just feel this connection with everything. So yeah, Leonard, and then after that, we continued. We went to Leonard's trainings all the times, and like I said, we met all of you beautiful humans that you guys are here with us in this. What a beautiful day, honestly, to take the time to do this and to continue his work, right? Right now we have the opportunity just to continue his work, what you guys are doing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, hey, yes, that's exactly what we should all be doing, right? Just continue given his work. We decided to use the term mana breathwork in our breathing method because, as a respect for Leonard, because we do go out of it and we practice heart coherence with the Heart Math Institute, and we practice other methods from others. So we didn't want it to in any way or form change Rebirthing, because Rebirthing is perfect the way it is. A high quality session, everything that it comes with it. So we cannot give permission to put in another part, all our research and our experimental practice, because we're experimenting and learning and kind of composing over what he already had composed, and he gave so kindly to us. So yeah, Rebirthing is really fucking special.
Amen.
Yeah, and I love what Heike was saying, that Leonard made a contract to teach the humanity until it changed their how you say, it changed their consciousness. And I think this is the moment that is happening. I mean, it's happening already. The people are changing. The people are being more open. We have a lot of people that were not interested in breathing with us, and now they are calling us. And I think that if Leonard decided to leave this plane, it's also because people is ready for the transformation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Thanks, you guys.
Beautiful.
And Leonard probably would love the lockdown because everybody had to stay home and do spiritual purification in one way or the other.
I just want to pop in, Heike, just if you could check the waiting room. We have some people trying to come in on and join us on Zoom. Sorry, just a little technical thing there. But yeah,
there is nobody in the waiting room.
No.
Oh, it says Tony was trying to get in.
Well, and then Maya Palakova, I probably said that wrong.
Oh,
Maya.
But I have been looking here all the time.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. There is some people. I had it on the...
There we go. Welcome.
Yes, I had it lower down.
Yes, with this pandemic, I felt I was well prepared. It was no problem for me. Everyone was joining me, doing what I was already doing.
You ever think that Leonard will love this pandemic because it's even for us, it's the perfect excuse to stay at home doing purification. We don't have to see anybody. We can do everything through Zoom. We can stay all day like doing fire and water at home. It's perfect.
Hi, Tony.
Heike, how wonderful to see you.
Yes, long time.
Well,
hello.
Yes, it's been with Leonard together. Hello. Well, hi, peace.
Hi, Tony.
I don't have names. So this is very nice.
Yes, and you come in the later session as well. So, right?
I think 2:30.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful.
Oh, it's so good to see you here. So we have Cristiano Verducci next, yes? Is that correct? Maybe
I don't have that on my schedule. Is Cristiano here today with us?
Yes, he is.
Yes, great.
Yes, he confirmed.
Yeah, we have time.
Beautiful.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
Cristiano, can you unmute your mic and maybe turn on your video?
Yes, and let's see your face. I haven't seen your face in many years. So.
There he is, Jay. Welcome.
Welcome.
Excuse me a little bit. I want to put my...
It's very nice.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from Italy.
Yes, so I contacted Cristiano about coming and joining the call and sharing about his introduction to the idea of physical immortality and Leonard, but also Cristiano is very involved with another very dear good friend of Leonard's, Elio Diana, from many years, and whose work I love, and he has sent a message to our community through Cristiano as well. So there are two things happening here. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Peace. Thank you, Heike. Thank you, everybody from this. Now, what's the name now? Rebirth?
International
Breathwork
Association.
Okay, REBA. R-E, yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much, really, for the invitation. I'm very happy being here. I'm in Italy right now, and here the thing is perfect. That's probably you can hear about, you know, how my country, there's, you know, this is the second probably lockdown. And of course, for me, lockdown is stay home, relax, having time for everything. But of course, I love to travel. So let's see, next time we can travel, we can meet each other. You are invited in Italy. Yes, I'm okay. I want to say that, yes, thinking about Leonard, I remember the first, it's very, you know, preeminent, relevant meeting in my life with him, you know, this presence of Leonard, I remember so well. And I remember in 2004, I met for the first time Leonard when we decided to open an holistic center here in Italy. And after attending different school years of rebirthing in Italy and Europe. And after that, we want to, you know, get in touch with him because he's the founder and pioneer of rebirthing. So we decided to get in touch with him because, okay, because I don't know, he's probably a, okay, some muting. I want to say that it's very important things, you know, to say that this kind of school here in Italy and Europe don't want to invite Leonard in Italy. When we know is why you don't want to invite, you know, the pioneer of rebirthing, you know, you are schools of rebirthing and comes from this. And they don't give us a motivation, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We want to, so we invite him. And in 2004, he came in our region where I live now, where is my, you know, place of origin, and it was really incredible first meeting with and many rebirthers from Italy and Europe came at that time, I remember, and it was very crazy meeting because, you know, after I remember the first time that he came and say okay, no, we have probably more than 60 or 70 rebirthers in that room, and asking and waiting for his words, well, what I have to say to us, etc. And the first words was, okay, have you breathed today? Have you? and all the rebirthers say, no, of course not. And say, okay, let's go breathing, and then we can talk about it. And this is really something that I can't forget, you know, because I always, I want to say, if I'm always a person of a very practical man, came from physical exercises, fitness, and everything. So I'm a very man of action. So when I find him, let's say that the first thing is to practice before words, before listening, before everything was, you know, very for the rebirthers so shocked, but for me, it's really, I love him. It's the first time for this reason, because he reminds me what is the priority? What is the priority? This is, I think, so important for my life. It was a sort of line, a guideline in my life, you know, and say, what is the priority? What is the priority? What is the priority? And all the time remember about what is the priority, and the priority is yourself. Okay, so that means also to breathe, to reconnect with yourself, with the present moment, and through the respiration too. So this is something that I would like to share with you, because I think it's a sort of summary, you know, of all the experience that we can do with rebirthing and our breath work, ourselves, in the personal development, all the things that and it was also, I have to say, it's totally, I have to say thanks, but my grateful is to him, because he also is the one that came to, that bring me to Elio, you know, because at the same time, when he came in Italy, he would like to invite to visit Elio, that was one of his friends. And I remember that we went to Elio, but I didn't know nothing about that. I'm so surprised to say that he wanted to meet him. And so we are just a little bit curious about that, because Leonard said, please bring me to visit this friend. And when we was there, okay, I first see Helio, and he gave me this book, you know, the School for Gods book, and also to Leonard and etc. So and for the first time, that book was with me right now, and that means that after 20 years, around 20 years, it is something that I can't say change, because I don't want to use change, but for my point of view, it's a transformation that is more than a change. So that means really that transformed completely my life, and that's why I would like to. I want to talk more about me or what I'm doing, but just these two couple of things that is nice, that remembering about him, and the reason why now today I'm, you know, very close to Elio Danna, that from my point of view is a great messenger too, and a great philosopher and visionary businessman and a lot of things too. And he said that he cannot be with him today, but he absolutely love the idea of physical immortality and all around physical immortality. So he would like to be present in some ways. So sending this message to you that I would like to read, if you can, if you like.
Yes, please.
And he writes that, okay. This also from, he wrote two books. One is Technology, the School for Gods, and the last one was now today, the Technology of the Dreamer. The second one, where there is no a story about the philosophy, but about, you know, it is more very easy question and answer. You know, you have it's just like thinking about that you can question and answer directly to Leonard. You know, without tell stories and everything, but just because you want to know more about, well, what kind of probably doubts you have in your own, or something that you want to clarify for yourself. And so the question and answer is something that really works very well, because it's very, you know, direct, and, you know, there is very easy in a way that not easy, easy to say, okay, let's get into the point. So from the Technology of the Dreamer also, this came and is the, okay, you keep on asking about how to overcome physical death. Your question manifests a total misunderstanding about life and death. There is no technology, no disciplines, no means, no God from outside that can help you. Simply stop believing that you were born and death will suddenly disappear. How can you die if you are an unborn being? This is the message from Elio Danna, and also an extract from the School for Gods and the Technology of the Dreamer. But he also writes, if you want to go to the website, an entire chapter about immortality notes, physical immortality notes. So if you want to know more about that, you can read something there. And that's it. I think it's enough. I think it's enough.
Yes, thank you so much. I was reading in the opening of that book when he talks about the dreamer, as I had said, and I'll repeat it here, is that I was wanting to write something about how Leonard was a mirror for people's projections, and how he had accepted that role and didn't, try to modify it in any way. He let people have their projections and their reactions, and in his presence, and he just allowed it. And then I came across this description of the dreamer from Elio's work, and it reminded me so much of Leonard that I just want to read the non-teaching of the dreamer. Any attempt to give a form to or describe the dreamer trying to rationalize his behavior, to understand his psychology, to then include it among the philosophical currents of the past, or describe it as eclectic shamanism, is useless and in vain. A visionary being, a man of integrity, embodies within himself something subversive, unexpected, and impossible to grasp, something that violates the ordinary course of things. He is free from any sort of role, description, influence, or constraint, both within and without. He walks among ordinary people. He mingles with the crowd, carrying out his activities completely sealed in his integrity. And I lost my spot. Staying invisible to those who having not yet abandoned their personal history, feel not the need to commit to reach a higher level of understanding. In this moment, he is here in front of you, and yet you cannot see him. He appears and disappears at will, taking on any role in the world of events that he is required to play and acting it out perfectly. Acting perfectly any role the character, the events, and the circumstances demand. The dreamer uses the games of life to raise your intelligence and aliveness. He uses religion, politics, TVs, movies, educational systems, communication and media, and all kinds of business and trade. The dreamer uses all humanity and natural disasters, whatever you think, coming from the outside world, for the purpose of awakening you and to show you that you yourself are the source of things. That is the secret of all secrets. The dreamer guides you into the depths of your drowsiness to bring you face to face with your doubts, fears, complaints, and anxieties. It is a journey into which all that which is unpleasant, a journey to abandon your dearest possession, something you love more than your life, and which is the very cause of your every failure, your own suffering. And I just struck me that so much of that is just exactly my experience and observation of Leonard and his movement in the world. So I want to thank you, Cristiano, for coming.
I thank you, all of you. Really, thank you very much. And please keep on and keep on.
Yes, and
never
love to Elio.
Absolutely, but next time will be with us. No worries.
Yes.
So sorry for today, but that's because really not possible. It doesn't mean that he really loved the relationship with Leonard Orr, especially about the subject of physical immortality. That is the title of this event. So it's absolutely something that the first time I heard about, the physical immortality, of course, also to me was something totally crazy. But, especially we have this privilege to be very close to this kind of human being as Leonard, as Elio. It's something that really we can, it's absolutely something extraordinary for us. So from my point of view, really, I'm so all my gratitude to come to this person, that really gave to the world in many, many ways. That is absolutely with their presence is something, so precious for our world to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Sarah, do you have anybody else now that, because I met James this morning only in the Zoom meeting and I don't know. Oh, Nado is coming. But I maybe wanted, if James has time, to share a little bit about Babaji and his meetings. He went with Leonard to India in 1980. But I don't know if he's still there.
Maybe we can give him a minute. James, if you're there, to unmute your audio so we can hear from you. And it looks like his video is turned off also, so he may have stepped back for a moment. But we do have a question while we're waiting for James to come on. We have a question from our Facebook group. From our Facebook live feed, someone is asking if anyone is using rebirthing to help themselves or others with anxiety during this COVID time. So I want to toss that out there that, we can talk about anxiety and healing and rebirthing and immortality. And if anyone has any wisdom they'd like to share around that.
That I tend to, the clients that come to me, a lot of them are coming with extreme anxiety and the, associated effects of that. So it's been tremendously helpful. It's my greatest joy to work with people to get them who are in these crisis of misery, as Leonard would describe it, and help shift them into feeling safe again in life. And so, yes, it's brilliant for that. And it's probably my main focus of my work.
Nice. I think that, many people may not be accustomed to having all of this time on their hands and then the isolation. And I know that I can speak in my own experience, when your whole life stops as you knew it before, all the activity and distractions, then you are left with what's on your plate and what has been suppressed has the time and the space to emerge. And I really loved how Leonard talked about momentarily temporary insanity. And I think that just, for me, as odd as it sounded, it was also humorous of like, oh, well, this is just temporary insanity. And this will pass too. We can go through all of these different phases and this full range of human emotions. And anxiety is a human emotion, and it's okay to feel the anxiety and to know that everything is temporary. Now, if you're experiencing it persistently for years at a time, if it's ongoing, I think there can be a lot more that you can do rather than if you're just feeling momentary anxiety while we go through COVID. I think that's a normal, healthy response. And then, it can go deeper than that also, but to have the practices, I always come back to the practices and the elements. And I think I had one client come to me one year that I hadn't spoken or connected with her yet, but I went to do my evening fire before the session the next day. And I felt what almost felt like a panic attack. It was extreme anxiety, like I'd never experienced in my life before. I didn't know what was going on. And so I was breathing with the fire. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute, I have a session tomorrow. She did mention something about anxiety. Maybe this is that. And then boom, it just disappeared, just dissolved. And that would happen consistently with other clients and things. So I think the important thing to remember is that anxiety and any emotional state is pure life force energy with information.
Yes.
And we have the tools of breath work and fire and bathing and spiritual community to support us through any emotional experience that we're going through. And oftentimes through breath work, you'll drop down into the original wound. Maybe it's something in childhood, maybe it's something in past life, maybe it's ancestral. You don't even have to know the thought, the origin doesn't even have to appear. You can just release it from the cells of your body and from your energy body. So I think that really, these times, and we said earlier, Leonard would have loved these COVID times. I think, and that is because it's the perfect opportunity for the suppressed materials to come up that we may have been distracting ourselves from. It's the perfect opportunity to take a day and spend it sitting by the fire while you're doing your Zoom meetings or calls or whatever work you may be doing from home. And we're all here also. I know a lot of breath workers are offering support online through Zoom if they're not able to meet in person. And so you're not alone in this. I want to say that too. It's very easy to feel totally isolated and alone when you're physically alone in your little bubble. But remember, we are all here, and we can find creative ways of connecting and supporting each other. So I'll stop with that and leave that there for now.
And I would just add that that life energy and the information, that we are experiencing as anxiety, that ultimately it's a physical sensation in the body, and our ability to be present with physical sensation of any kind. If you can keep in mind that's what the experience is. You're feeling sensations in your body, and it's safe.
Yeah.
Can I speak on it real quick?
Please, yeah. Anyone else? So, I don't think we have James here yet. So
it's the word anxiety can be broken down or rearranged to find the word any exit within it. And so that's what people are looking for, is any exit from the present moment or from that energy that is coming up. And just like you were saying, if we could be present instead of looking for any exit or cultivating anxiety, we would actually start to dissolve it.
Thank you. Yeah, that present witnessing and being present with it. So important.
So I'm starting to wrap up because we are having actually 2 more meetings tonight. And the next meeting will be hosted by Irene Jovi Bauman from Spain, and it will be in Spanish. And it will start at 6 o'clock. So we will end a little bit before that, of course, so that we can start the next session, because we will end this meeting and then we will start new in Spanish. And tonight at 8 o'clock German time, which is 11 West Coast and
2 p.m. East Coast.
2 p.m. East Coast. Then there will be tonight Dan Brule, David and Pauline McNabb, as well as Leah Holtzman. And we will have another great session. So I'm sitting in front of the computer all day long. That's fun.
And we have Maureen and Tony tonight, and Tanya Parker with Immortal Kindergarten, the creator of Immortal Kindergarten, will be with us tonight as well at that last session.
And Adriana Nielsen is actually coming to the Spanish session, but she's joining in right now as well. So.
Great.
Wonderful.
So anyone staying for the Spanish will have to call back in or connect back in, because we'll end this one and start the new. Yeah.
Hi, Silke. We have to throw you out in a moment and we start anew again. So, but if you speak Spanish and you like to join us in that next call, and I think James stepped out.
Yes,
so
we should probably wrap up anyway to let that next waiting room fill up for the next meeting.
Yes. Peace, do you want to wrap it up? And Sarah?
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask, I had the contact information for our guest speakers here. I just posted it into the chat room. John, I don't know if you have a website, or how can people reach you if they want to contact you for more information? And you're muted, so you can type your website or whatever into the chat room if you can, or just tell us now.
Yeah, it's breathinggod.com.
breathinggod.com. Nice.
Yeah, and or Breathing God on Instagram. It's probably easier to link with me there.
And you have lots of videos on YouTube.
Yeah, there's a lot on YouTube as well.
John Illuminati Congo on YouTube.
Great.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, that's all of my music. The Illuminati Congo .com, and that there's a lot of music about breath work on there, and many various topics.
Awesome, thank you. All right, well, the contact information is in the chat window here. That'll be available in the replay. And I just want to thank all of our speakers and guests. This was really wonderful to connect with you all today. And we'll see you in the next sessions. So Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Happy birthday, Leonard.
Happy
And
birthday, Leonard.
he is watching us from wherever he is, and we will have 4 hours more of talk and wonderful time with each other and spiritual community. So thank you all for being here, and I will finish this meeting. So also we will upload the recording to YouTube at some point. We will post it also on Facebook again, and then we will start the next live call in 10 minutes, Spanish speaking. And there's already some of you here, but you have to join in again. And it's wonderful to be with all my spiritual and our spiritual community all around the world. Thank you for being here. And shall we sing the Om song for Leonard? You all unmute yourself and we see how that, there's already Spanish people coming, so, but I have to say that again. So,
Om Leonard,
celebrate Leonard, sing it with an open and joyful heart. Om Leonard, celebrate Leonard, sing it with an open heart.
Yay! Ciao.
All at a different time, but great. I will close the meeting now, and thank you everybody for being here. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, friends.
Simplicity and love, and we are one.
Yes, ever one.
Ever one.
Ever one.
Yes. See you soon in the next meetings.
Thank you, Heike. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Peace, for hosting this. Bye.
Bye.